You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you as we are here on Big 12 Media Day Eve. We're going to look ahead to the conference's gathering. Texas Tech set to go on Tuesday, so obviously we'll have some reaction to that coming up on Wednesday's episode. But it's a new look Big 12. It's a new look Big 12 Media Day, and curious to see what we hear, not only from some of those newcomers, of course, but also Conference Commissioner Brett Yormark, who is never short on views and opinions and is always willing, seemingly, to share those with anybody that asks. So sometimes Big 12 Media Day can be a bit of a snooze fest in some regards. I used to enjoy once upon a time when we would attend, always taking a listen to Bill Snyder when it was his turn at the podium. I felt like he was going to drop some pearls that I could just apply in my own personal life and maybe be a better person. But should be anything but this time around. This ain't Bob Bowlesby's Big 12 Media Day anymore. So looking forward to this and some of what we'll hear over the next couple of days.
Yeah, media days, you know, there was a time when it was a bit monotonous and there wasn't a lot of change in the air. It was just, I don't want to use the term status quo, but it was, okay, the same team is picked to win the league. There's not the realignment component. Everything's just kind of, you know, this particular year and really the last several years, it's probably going to be this way for a bit. Anything but status quo. I mean, like, let's think about when you put all these people together, what could they potentially be asked about in a group setting? Okay, from the commissioner to all the head coaches. Let's just run the gamut here. And this is why this one will be very fascinating. Really, all the conference media days will be, because I mean, imagine what life will be like over at ACC media days when you got members in the audience that are suing, you know, the league and everything like that.
You think there'll be vultures circling the hotel where they're at?
It's a good question. Good question. But as far as like what you could get into, whether it be Brett Yormark or the head coach of any program, this kind of runs the gamut of the different things they could be asked about. Okay, everything from, Coach, have you been able to keep up with how many times the rules have changed, you know, since last season ended? You know, what's your thought on revenue sharing? How will you do this? What is your institution going to do as far as this goes? How about the recruiting changes that have taken place in the rules? And oh, by the way, are you going to hire more coaches now that you're allowed to? I mean, what's your plan? You know? That's that part. Okay, so you can put that like in one little sandbox. Now you can move on to, Coach, what do you think about this wide open league? Like the newcomers coming in. Do you think there's a favorite? Should there be a favorite? You know, unbalanced schedule and like you don't play everybody. How does that factor in? There's some familiarity and some unfamiliarity. How will your program handle all of those things? Hey, Coach, how will you handle being able to talk to your quarterback with the rules changes that we've had on the field? Not recruiting. We talked about that earlier, Coach, but now on the field, how are you going to manage a game? You're going to change the way you signal stuff in now that you can talk. Who's going to get the dot on their helmet on defense? How will you do that? There's that component. Hey, do you want, if I'm talking to somebody on the East Coast, hey, do you want this league to expand if the ACC falls apart? Hey, Cincinnati or West Virginia head coach, you know, Neil or Scott Satterwhite, I mean, do I want to, you know, do you want NC State and Virginia Tech and Pitt and all those? What do you think? Or are you more apt to want to listen to the ACC? So there's this, all that stuff. Then you've got, I'm trying to think of what else I may have missed, which is probably a ton. But it's, hey, where do you think you were picked in the preseason ranking? Do you agree with it? Hey, you were picked 9th. Do you agree, disagree? I mean, and then you haven't even talked about your particular team yet. The portal additions you've had. Are you supposed to be any good? Is your quarterback healthy or hurt or whatever? I mean, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose, trying to consume a lot of the storylines that are going to come out of those couple of days. And then some may go, hey, are you glad that this is in Vegas? As opposed to Dallas, where it's always been. So there's just all kinds of things that will come out from this, and depends on how you want to view this event, on what you're wanting to learn from it. But then somebody will make some news, and somebody will make some comments and all that we weren't expecting too.
How'd you do on the tables last night, Coach? Any luck or all snake eyes? Something along those lines. What do you think? What do you anticipate as far as Brett Yormark's approach? Do you think that he sort of comes out swinging? Is he going to play it coy? He sort of has done both, although still in both of those categories delivering comments. It's not like he's lip sealed or anything like that. But, sometimes I feel like he comes out and he's like, hey, I want to deliver this message with purpose and with intent. And then maybe it's a little more close to the vest on some other occasions, but this is a big platform for him. Obviously, it's not just a media breakout session. I mean, it is your conference's media day, and there will be eyes on it. So what do you think what's his vibe going to be?
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite events again with Gametime. It's always a breeze using the Gametime app, where you're going to find the best last-minute deals. And I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, it's always at the lowest price, guaranteed. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that last beer at the tailgate at your own pace, because Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. They give you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast and easy, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
What do you anticipate as far as Brett Yormark's approach? What's his vibe going to be?
He has been very transparent. I'll tell you what he's going to – and see, I glossed over this. I didn't even think to include this in what we were talking about earlier, but this is more of a AD/commissioner question anyway. But, I mean, how close are you on the All-State 12 deal, Brett? Like, is that real? Was that hearsay? Is there other companies involved? How did this come about? What's the timetable here? How much money can, people are going to try to pin him down. Okay, so there's that. What's the latest on the private equity conversations? What is that going to entail? And he's going to have to decide, and he have to be very well prepped going into this deal, because he's going to have all kinds of media there wanting to talk to him. And I think that at some level he will want to talk to them. Yeah. What does this look like? Why do you need this money? What are you going to use this money for? What's tied to it? All the things that we talked about when all those things were, was initially being reported, and we were trying to kind of figure it out and asking questions aloud. I think those are kind of 1 and 1A, honestly, on what he's going to get asked a lot about expansion too, and just maybe the ACC or just any other ideas he's got in mind. You may get something you're not expecting either. Like, hey, folks, while we're here in Vegas, just want to let everybody know we're going to have a preseason basketball tournament in Vegas starting next year. I don't know. I mean, something off the grid that had previously gone unreported that he may be ready to talk about. He's probably going to get asked about, hey, you punted on Big 12 Mexico this coming year. What about, is that still in the cards? Is that something you're going to pivot on and not necessarily, want to do? All the above. And I think he'll also talk about how wide open the league is and how that's a good thing. He'll try to put again, when you don't have like the blue blood, that's the one positive with this league, is that anybody could win it. Some are going to tell you that's a great thing. Some are going to tell you that's a bad thing. I think the TV folks in some ways are telling you that's not necessarily a great thing, because people don't necessarily tune in to watch that anybody can win the league. They want the brand and all that stuff. But he's going to have to shine it up and try to promote that this is what we're about. His message may be far different when the basketball version of Media Days rolls around in October. But from the football standpoint, I think that would be his message. But he's typically been an open book, and you can mostly trust what he says. But I also think that he's probably keeping some things close to the vest too, and not telling you everything that he can, because for various reasons, because he's in the middle of negotiations on various things.
Yeah, I really, I guess, I don't know if you see it the same way, but I feel like this is a media day that gives the Big 12 an opportunity to be operating or speaking from a position of strength, unlike many that they've had in recent years. And I know that it's not Big 10 strength or SEC strength, but it ain't ACC strength either. And there's been so much unsteady ground, and you're kind of standing on a crumbling foundation type of vibe or something like that over some recent years gone by, where questions are probably a lot about like, hey, you're going to survive? What are you going to do to survive? Well, you've made all the moves you wanted to. And I feel like this is sort of maybe one of the first in a little while where within your own context, you can speak from a position of strength, or at least stability, I guess maybe is a different word.
And I think that's where it would be interesting to hear the private equity conversation, because he may be saying, yeah, we are stable, we're relevant, but we're trying to stay in that category. And we need to talk publicly about a deal like this if we want to maintain this stability and relevancy and all those things. But yeah, I do agree. I think that you had 4 no-brainer additions to your league. I think this quartet is much more a no-brainer than the previous one. But if you don't have the previous quartet that was added, we're not having the same conversation. You needed the first quartet before you could even get to the second quartet. Otherwise, you may have been the league that is now defunct, and it may be the Power 4 minus the Big 12. Had credit to Bob Bowlesby that had the foresight to go ahead and add, the Cincinnati's, Houston, Central Florida, and BYU. So I bet he gets asked about protected rivalries a bit, and some of the scheduling that you're going to get. This is just going to be very different in that it's who you don't play. We've talked a lot about that. I don't know how much of that minutia maybe that comes into the news in an event like this, but you can bet for sure that while he will pump up the league and talk about how they are in a great spot, that there's reasons why you're looking at selling the name to your league and talking about private equity, talking about going to Mexico and all those things, because you're still trying to play catch up a bit. What did the mama tomato say to the baby tomato? Was that line from Pulp Fiction when Uma Thurman told that joke? She stepped on the baby tomato and was like, catch up. No. Wasn't that the line after
I don't know. You got me thinking Uma. I didn't even hear what you said after Uma.
Yeah, it was Pulp Fiction, and Uma Thurman. She'd had a bit of a interesting night thanks to some nose candy. Yes,
that's true.
And
that's true.
Then they were. I think Vincent Vega was who John Travolta played. He was fearful of his life because that was the boss's wife he was supposed to take out and take care of. And anyway, but she was telling that story from the. Anyways, bottom line is I didn't mean to go there, but yeah, you're still playing catch up, right?
And I'm just still thinking of Uma, Jerry. Uma.
Yeah. What?
Before we get out of here, what do you
and Kramer had Uma's number written on that sheet with that lotion that he liked at the department store. It rubbed it all the ink off.
That's right. From a Texas Tech perspective, we'll have some reaction, like I said, on an upcoming episode after we actually hear from Joey McGuire and the gang. But you think there's a central focus as far as a question or theme surrounding the Red Raiders this year? I know that they were on the radar last year, even if it was a dark horse kind of radar, not so much going into this season. So I'm sort of wondering if the media attention or even questioning of Joey McGuire might be a little lukewarm this time around. Not that anything's ever lukewarm involving Joey McGuire, I guess, but a lot of questions maybe about the quarterback, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're just trying to find their way in the new Big 12 conference. What do you think?
We talked about all these storylines and all that. Then you get into team-specific stuff on what each coach will be asked about on their particular team, because the other stuff was just kind of conference-wide and all those things that may be regional or national news. But, yeah, he's going to get asked a lot about Barron. That's just the way it's going to go. That's kind of, it's a high-profile player / situation because you shut him down in the middle of spring, which is not really, anything that you've seen in recent years, certainly around here and just elsewhere. And I think people realize that, I bet Joey gets into a lot of the details about what we've talked about the expert there in Florida that Barron has gone to train with and how good Barron has looked and how they had to kind of pivot and change their training. Taj will be a big topic on, and a lot of times media will, hey, you tell me why is Taj Brooks the best running back in this league, and make you defend your guy. You'll get a lot about, and I'll be interested to see, I would expect Taj to be there. But the defensive just conversations will be interesting because there's not a lot of household names there. And just that side of the ball in general, it's you graduated Miles and your corners and Tony and Jalen and Rabbit is gone, and so I think that will be kind of a general topic is like whose name do we need to know on that side of the ball kind of deal, and I think that'll be a bit of a theme as it relates to Texas Tech, because I think Joey really likes that side of the ball. I think he feels deeper and faster, but also much more inexperienced. What does all that equal? Time will tell. But whose name do we need to know? And I think that'll be kind of because it was Joey that he dropped the no-name defense. That was his line, So I think he'll be asked to present some names or like kind of tell me why you like that stuff. Who specifically should we be looking out for, kind of thing, that kind of deal. And then I bet you get a lot of under the radar. Hey, how does it feel to be under the radar? A year ago, you were sitting here, you were kind of the dark horse or the darling, and there was a lot expected. This year, you're a bit under the radar. How does that feel? How are you using that to motivate? And he's probably going to say, I don't like it at all. I'd much rather be on the radar. I'd rather be picked to win this deal and then go win it. That's how I would prefer to be. But, so I'll quit rambling, but that's what I would think.
There's obviously going to be some more personality included in this round of Big 12 Media Days. Anytime you got Deion Sanders in the crew, should be entertaining as far as that goes. I was trying to think about some of those newcomer coaches that I thought could be entertaining to listen to or maybe provide a soundbite or two. And I was thinking, well, who?
Kyle Whittingham.
Kyle
Whittingham,
Deion
sure.
Sanders is the
and
answer.
Deion Sanders, absolutely.
So looking forward to hearing from all of the above. And as I mentioned, after the Red Raiders have their turn, we'll have some reaction right back here on Locked On Texas Tech. So make sure you're subscribed anywhere you get podcasts or on YouTube so you miss nothing. Chris, appreciate the time as always, man. Looking forward to it. And we will digest what is said on the other side.
Guns up, people. Enjoy the week. Big 12 Media Days is almost here. That's one more thing that we could check off the list as the season gets closer and closer. Yes.
Yep. Some timelines that are important. You get these bullet points out of the way, and this is one of those big ones that gives you a feel that football season is right around the corner. For Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thanks for being out there. And, of course, the best way to help us grow the show is to comment anything below. So thanks to those that do that. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.